Thank you very much, Bishop Richard, for joining me today to talk about the launch of the new diocesan strategy. And many people will be asking, why do we need a diocesan strategy? So can you tell me the reasons why we're going to have one?
That's a very good question, Jim. I think actually that as time has gone on, we realise that we need to be more focused in the diocese, to have a focused plan for the future. There's been lots of changes happening in the church and society, and there are challenges that we're facing. And I think any organisation needs to have a clear understanding about where it's going. So this is what the strategy will do.
Oh, thanks for that. When you think about it, what are the key messages that are in the diocesan strategy that people should know about?
I think the key message is that as a diocese, we want to harness our resources at the diocesan office with the diocesan team to work with the newly formed ministry areas so that they will work and get the parishes together and so that they can develop ministry in new and exciting ways. But you need to have a plan for that. You need organisation and you need resources for that. There are tensions, I think, between what parishes want and sometimes what the diocese needs. And you need to hold all those together. And that's what the plan is trying to do.
Right. What would you say to people who will look at this diocesan strategy and say, it's been a top-down approach?
Well, yes, I have heard that sometimes. I would be very surprised if you didn't have any organisation which was working well that didn't have focused leadership. You need to have a very clear understanding about where you're going. And at the end of the day, the buck stops with me and my team about where the diocese is going. And over, I suppose, the last 10 years, we've had the opportunity to talk and to consult in deaneries and parishes about changes. Many will remember the Hope for Monmouth document, which started things off. But we've come a long way from there. And I think because of the economic stringencies that we're facing at the moment, we have to have a clear understanding about how we manage the money so that we can have the right resources in the right place. This will mean cutting number of clergy down, but hopefully having good teams that will enable us to go forward for the future.
Right. So why do individual members of churches and congregations need to know about the details of this strategy?
Because they're part of it. I mean, it's one thing, it's natural to talk when we talk about strategy, about organisations, about structures, but actually the church is the body of Christ. And all members of the church are the body of Christ. And it's important for us to help people to know where they fit in within that and their role within the body of Christ in the diocese.
Right. When you look at it, the central focus in the development of ministry is the development of ministry areas, and it's key to the strategy. How do you see ministry areas developing from now on?
Well, we've already started a couple of ministry areas and actually named them, and some more will be rolled out this year. With the training that's taking place with ministry area leaders, and they'll be working in concert with their teams in the parishes, we can see now that there's a culture change. There's a change of people wanting to work together, to collaborate for the mission of the church. And so I can see, as time goes on, that more and more ministry areas will be up and running, but not just as structures, but as a sort of different change of approach to ministry. And I'm really quite excited about it.
Mm-hmm. So in the development of ministry areas then, is it a revolution or is it evolution?
Well, I've been quoted on several times saying the Church in Wales is organic. And I think it is. And I think that's good. Its roots go back hundreds and hundreds of years. But the plants go in different directions sometimes. They need watering, they need a sense of growth about where they're going. And so in one way, I think it is an evolution because we're not rushing at it. We're trying to encourage everyone to be alongside what we're doing. But also it's a revolution as well. It's a revolution in the sense that it's radical, going back to the roots of what the church is about. And in that sense, that's good news.
Right. So how do you see ministry areas underpinning the mission of the church?
If we were just about radical reorganisation because of economic necessity, I would be disappointed. I think what we really need to sell to everyone is that it is about the mission of the church. At the heart of the church is the mission of Jesus Christ to the world, and we're part of that. Ministry areas will allow that because It'll be an opportunity for parishes to be better resourced, better staffed in the sense that there'll be more collaborative ministries. And also there'll be an emphasis, I think, on connecting with the communities. We can only do that if we offer an authentic lifestyle with service to others. And I think ministry areas and the culture that goes around that will enable that to happen. So the church will be more an attractive place for people and will encourage others to come along and join us.
Picking up on the idea of the community, and the church is the centre of many communities, how are you expecting the diocesan strategy to be communicated outside the walls of the church?
Well, it's a strange thing, isn't it? We live now in a world where there is more communication than ever, and that's done in all sorts of forms of media now. And in the church now, of course, we have a website which is developing, we have the newsletter, which are avenues for people to understand what's going on. But at the heart of communication is people. The church is about people, and it's those face-to-face meetings. And so I would like people as Christians to be confident in what they're doing so that they can share their faith. And that's the best way that a message can come across. In terms of communicating the strategy, I think that will be done very clearly through the strategy document that we have here. It will also be done with the fact that there's going to be deanery meetings, an opportunity for people to talk together about what's happening in their area, how ministry areas are going to affect them. But at the heart of all of this is people talking to people.
Mm-hmm. So some people are going to be wary about a new diocesan strategy and what it means for them. How are we going to make sure that everybody is going in the same direction to make sure that this strategy is implemented as you want it to be implemented, really?
I'm not surprised that people feel a bit wary, because if any change comes across, people want to know, is this a good way forward? I believe it is. I believe it's important for us to have a clear understanding about where the church is going, and I think our strategy will allow that. But as I said earlier on, we are the body of Christ, and we are called, and that works in both ways, communication and openness, and about trying to encourage people to know where we're going, means obviously that all of us are accountable. And I think I would say to people, you can be wary about it, but please try to understand where we're going. So the opportunity of the strategy is to say very clearly where the church is going, and I'd hope people have the opportunity, therefore, to look at it carefully, to study the document, and as I said, there's going to be the deanery meetings as well, so that any fears that they may have can be addressed.
So when you look at the implementation of this diocesan strategy, what support do you need from the clergy, the people in communities that are affected? What support do you need from them to make this diocesan strategy real?
I think the answer is that it's not so much about the strategy, it's about the purpose of the church. This is a tool for us to be able to bring the gospel of Christ to others. And therefore, if I'm asking people to be online, as it were, with what we're doing, I would suggest to them that they read the strategy document, but also read the Gospels at the same time. Therefore, you'll see what the message that Jesus is for the world and where we're going. And that's absolutely crucial, because this, after all, is only a tool for the work of the church. And if we want to be online, then I'll say, well, don't just be online with the bishop, but be online with the history of the church, the progress of the church, always wanting to send out the same message that God is love, and he wants to love you and the communities in which you serve.
Fine. And when you look at this diocesan strategy, if you wanted to put it into a succinct phrase, what would you say to people in churches and communities about how it's going to work? How do you know it's going to be a success?
It's going to be a success because you're going to be part of it. And actually, at the end of the day, it's all of us working together. Sometimes I hear people talk about volunteers in church, and I remind myself that actually in church we're not volunteers, we're all disciples. And the more that we grow as disciples, wanting to do what Jesus wants, we grow in ourselves, we grow in our communities, and we are effective for the communities in which we serve. And that's the message I think that I want to get across. The diocesan strategy is about ministry, but at its heart it's about mission. And that's the mission to the world. And I'm so glad that I'm part of that. And I hope people in the diocese will also want to join with me in this new venture.
Bishop Richard, thank you for your time. And I hope people listen to your words of encouragement about the new diocesan strategy. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Jim.